Coming on this fine fresh Monday morning, and it is a little bit nippy this morning. I got me snap-on winter gloves on. I'm not used to this cold weather just yet. We've got a 2001 Renault Kangoo van, 1.2 petrol. It hasn't even got power steering. Fancy that, hasn't got power steering. Anyway, let's jump down to it. We have got a driver's side front wheel bearing, which is rather noisy. Let's get involved. Before I go getting too involved, I'm just going to give it a quick spin-a-rooney for you, just to let you know how noisy it is. It's fairly bad, that is. Right, let's get this wheel off. Now I've got the wheel off, I have also removed the caliper carrier and the brake disc, just so we can see what we need to remove, and it is a steering knuckle here. What I've done, I've gone around all my fixtures with a wire brush when we drill, cleaned all them threads up so we can give it the best chance, and we're not going to be struggling getting them bolts undone. Also the bottom ball joint, and we can just pull this steering knuckle off. And there you have it. With a little bit of magic, that steering knuckle now is off, and we can get it in the vise and get this wheel bearing pressed out. Now I've got the steering knuckle in the vise, what we need to do is remove this drive flange here where my thumb is from the wheel bearing itself. And what I've got is a little drift or a punch or whatever you want to, anything will do, socket that fits it. As you can see, we've got an arrangement of various different sockets and blah 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 that does fit wheel bearings. But this seems to fit it perfectly, and we're going to hammer that out now. And that is the drive flange out of the wheel bearing, and as you can see, the race is a little bit rusty where it's, well, the bearing's failed. Now we need to get the wheel bearing itself out of the steering knuckle, and there is a little circlip that we need to get a little pick now and just give everything a bit of a scrape round and a little bit of WD-40, and then we can get that circlip out, put the knuckle in the press and get that bearing out. And that is circlip out, and you know what? It's actually quite nice to be working on something where you haven't got to be worrying about ABS sensors and stuff like that. It's brilliant, the good old days. All we've got to do now is have a little bit of adult Jenga. This is an old start motor housing, which is absolutely ideal to be fitting around all the steering knuckles to be pressing them out. Anyway, let's give it a good pumperoonie on the handle now, and we'll get this bearing out. Before we put this brand new wheel bearing in, you need to get yourself a little scraper, and where the circlip blows, make sure it is absolutely spotless, because over the years rust does build up and it can stop the bearing going in. We now need to move around and do a little bit more adult Jenga. What I like to do is use the old bearing against the new one. It just helps it press in a little bit better, and also use a tiny little bit of engine oil around the new bearing and it'll slide in nice and easy. With a little bit of magic now, we have got that wheel bearing pressed back into the steering knuckle. Now with the drive flange, when you're pressing them in, always make sure that you put something on that inner race on the bearing so you're not separating them. Right, let's get this back on the vehicle. And that is all built back up now, and as you can hear, it is nice and quiet. Also, we've got another couple of little jobs to do on this vehicle as well, which I'm going to show you. The customer was complaining of a little bit of a knocking on the back when it goes over the bump. Now these rear axles on these are torsion bars. Now if you have a little look, the bushing is actually, well, it's actually failed. That's causing a knocking noise. So over time, well, probably in the next week or so, we're going to try and get some bushes for it. I'll be doing a video on that as well. And that is one wheel bearing replaced on a little Renault Kangoo van. I'm going to take it down the road now and give it a bit of a test drive. Let's get it sent.